what to write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
That was a great sounds. Watts with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, with my bearded brother. His name is EZ BlueZ. Easy, what is the topic we're going to talk about today?
Today, it's about flying by the seat of your pants. Today, it's about taking the bull by the horns, as to say. Today is all about the art and the misart of winging it. Now, when I say winging it, I really mean that flying by the seat of your pants, jumping into the situation without all the information, and just doing what's necessary to hopefully get onto the next side. Now, I know you're a more preparation type of person, and winging it can be, I'll say, kind of like an albatross for a lot of people. Where do you sit on winging it?
Before I answer your question, I hate to live under a rock. What is albatross?
It's a type of bird.
Okay.
No worries.
I had no idea.
No worries. I think I learned it from watching Scooby-Doo. So.
I gotta watch more Scooby-Doo.
Word. We all do.
It's hard for me. I say probably around this year I've been winging it. For the worst part is because I just dabble too much into everything when it comes like to jobs and being involved with just different activities like outside of just like my work related activities. And there are times where I have to wing it when it comes to promises to like certain individuals that I made and that I kept to different people. And to me, it was just a little bit hard just to keep up with those obligations that I said yes to other people. So I just winging it and just went with the flow. Did it work out well most times? Of course it did. Did I feel good about it? No, because if I felt I was better prepared for the situation, it could turn out a little bit better than for me individually hope for. Like when it came to making, like for example, this weekend I was supposed to be on time to make it for a person's event because I said, yes, I can make it there early in the morning. I was about 10, 15 minutes late because I was putting too much on my plate when I was, working from job to job and helping out, my other bosses and making sure they're okay with different gigs that I have. And I felt I didn't fulfill that promise to that individual that I said yes to go to their event. I was like about 10, 15 minutes late. I overthink the situation because the person didn't really care about it. He was like, I'm happy that you're here. But I felt, what if I was there a little bit earlier? What would have happened? And that's just my side. This is my answer.
Of course. No, see, that's the thing. One of the craziest parts about winging it is there is an art form to it. And I'm someone who loves improv, and I've always loved, throw me in a situation, I'll try to figure it out and get to the best of the ability. But that does counter a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the show when we talk about our 10,000 hours and, the truly, learning how to master something. So it's fun for me because it still gives me that little bit of fear and trepidation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, doing a tightrope without a net. Not that I've ever done a tightrope without a net before, but I'm sure that's how it feels. So I love to do stuff like that. That being said, as much as I love doing improv music, I would much rather do Shane Penguin music that is practiced and written and crafted out so that I know what the best experience is going to be. Although I'll sit there and do up some improv all day long, it's not what I'm going to focus my energy on because it's not as safe as a bet, and it's also, it's much more of a gamble.
Mm.
When you're just doing that improv stuff the entire way through, and you're just winging it, which is a phenomenal band actually out here in CT, the Just Winging It band. Giancarlo, remember when we went to Pig Jam?
I think it was about 8 years back, right? I believe.
Yeah, about 8 years back. That's
Yeah.
Giancarlo from Just Winging It.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
Just Winging It.
Oh, so the founder of that
Yes.
event, this band is called Just Winging It.
Yep.
It's funny because you can't really wing it when you're running a festival.
Right, and that's
That's
for
the
real.
exact opposite.
Completely opposite.
I don't want to like knock on them, but like I have
Right.
to ask this. Were there any future Pig Jams?
Nah.
Okay, that's probably
Well, no, it's because, well, first of all, he actually took over Pig Jam,
right.
and he tried to make it something else,
Mhm.
and space, time constraint,
Yeah.
overhead, all of these things that are surmountable. He was already in a contract with the people that were before, very similar to our good friend Brian Cronin
Mhm.
when he took over the Millennium Music Conference. He was still contracted in with some of the decisions of the party before him.
Right.
So you have to be able to balance and move from those type of situations.
Mhm.
And sometimes those contracts can be predatory. They really can. You can look at that fine print with everything. They tell you in legal, always look at the fine print, right? Because the fine print's where they mess you over, because we're on radio and I can't say what I want to say. But that's the whole point. And a lot of the times when you are in a winging it philosophy, and you are at a winging stage in your life, you can get caught with that fine line, red tape type of stuff that can tangle you up forever. So I'm sure Giancarlo's got 1.5 million other things that he's doing in different adventures that is going on. I know he's still playing with Just Wing It, but I'm sure that when the time is right, he'll have the festival he's always wanted. And it'll go off without a hitch, because it'll be his that he grew from the ground up.
Do you feel a lot of people? Let me rephrase this question, because I don't want to mess up any words.
Okay.
As we get older, do you feel winging it can no longer be an option?
No, because I'm getting older and older by the second, and I still wing it as much as humanly possible, because again, it still gives me that thrill. It still gives me that adrenaline rush. If I can pull it off, oh my gosh. But I'm also I'm super broken. Don't get me wrong. Like I love, and to this day, if you ask me to work in a store during the Christmas season, I'm going to tell you yes, because that's chaos and it's beautiful. And you don't know if you're going to survive that day. And it's just amazing. And there's just so much where you have to wing it from the minute you clock in to the minute you clock out. And it's so chaotically gorgeous for someone like me. Now, for most people, they hear all those things and they're like, I don't ever want to deal with that ever in my life, because it's terrifying. I'm someone who somewhat of a thrill seeker when it comes down to those different type of things. I love and thrive in chaos.
But I think you like controlled chaos. You like structure when it comes to the chaos. But when you're winging it, there's really no structure.
Right.
It's just just going with the flow.
Right. Which can be extremely difficult, especially like when you are by one's disposition, they can be more negative, different type of aspects there. But when you are winging it, and you say you are winging it in an environment that is a lot more positive minded than what you're used to kind of being with, it can really break you down, and it can really set a fire under you that was not necessarily a good fire. It's an okay fire, but it can still burn and leave scars. Maybe not like fourth degree burns or third degree burns, but at least second degree burns.
Do you feel people wing it when it comes to money all the time?
I feel like we're at the point in time where you have to. We don't necessarily have a choice. The wages are not going up, and inflation, because of corporate greed, not because of any type of governmental aspect. Inflation because of corporate greed.
It's been like that for the longest time.
Well, yeah, but if you don't believe me, then tell me why McDonald's and Target are going to roll back their prices. If you don't want the big corporations to make a lot of money off of you, don't spend all your money on big corporations. But that's one way to go about it. But yeah, you have to wing it with your finances. You got to learn how to stretch a 20. You got to learn how to stretch a 10. You got to learn how to maneuver. I
don't think stretching something is winging it. I think it's properly budgeting. I really don't think so. I understand maybe if you have kids,
right.
matter of fact, I'm not even gonna put kids in the subject because I'm not a parent. Right. But just stretching money in general, and being responsible with it weekly and monthly, because you're either saving up for something in general or saving up for something that's gonna be really big in your life.
Right.
But
that just winging it is
just going.
Yeah, but hold on.
Not checking like the next purchase is just not checking. It's just going from check to check. Not really managing your account well.
Right, and
I feel if you stretch it, it's being a little bit responsible. That's the point I'm trying to get across.
No, and it is being somewhat responsible. But the winging it aspect of it is the irresponsibility. The winging it aspect of it is the walking through Comic-Con and buying yourself Spider-Man web blasters, because you're at Comic-Con. And, yes, you saved up money to go to Comic-Con. You put some money aside. But, homie, you're spending more money than you put aside.
I feel that's a shot at me.
No, that's not a shot at you at all. That's not a shot at you at all.
Buying the stuff I have around me in the big...
Word. But see, I was literally giving you an explanation of something that will relate to you. For me, it's having a gift card and having to go to like a record store. I'm gonna spend more than what that gift card is because I'm in a record store. And that's music is life to me. So I'm going to spend that money. So I just knew that the Comic-Con thing, you could relate to it. And I'm sure that there are some listeners that could relate to it too. Or like my grandmother, for example, was the person, was with, not Precious Moments. What are they? What were they called? The little figurines. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember these things. They're like worth money.
Beanie Babies?
No, this is before Beanie Babies.
Before Beanie Babies.
These are like porcelain figurines.
Was it
Hummels?
Hummels? I have no idea what Hummels are.
It's some rich white lady stuff. I'm telling you, it's some rich white lady stuff. There's like half the audience just went, he's not wrong. But my grandmother would buy Hummels all the time, and she would spend a good amount of money on Hummels. She also spent like $2,500 on a teacup poodle. So she lived by just winging it because there was no way all of that money was coming in out of nowhere. Credit cards are
the same way with coffee mugs.
Right. Oh, those are the right.
Coffee mugs, like she loves coffee. It's the best thing, and then it for my mother, the best thing next to sliced bread is a fresh cup of coffee in the morning. And if you mess up the coffee in the morning, it's gonna disappoint her just a little bit out the day, because you can tell when someone accidentally messes up the coffee. Like she's that much of an ex. Like if you accidentally mess it up, okay, that's forgiving. But if you purposely and don't treat her coffee with care, then just leave the room, because it's going to be a whole entirely different person when you come in. But I know I'm stretching what I'm saying, but
no, you're not. You're nailing it off the point, because that really because it's so remarkable that you mentioned that type of aspect of it. Because that's something that is very structured, and once there's a little bit of wavering or a little bit of winging it in that type of aspect, and I'm talking about the way your mom has her coffee and stuff like that. It's very structured. It's very much it's laid out in this direction. And the winging it aspect is, say, the half and half is just it's not as light, or it's not as dark as it used to be, or there's
levels to it. I didn't know there was levels to the coffee drinking. Like it has to be a certain type of mug. It can't just be any mug. It has to be like either like a steel mug or it has to be. I can't even explain it thoroughly. It just has to be catered to hold the right amount of hot liquid. It can't.
We'll see. Yeah, I could see that. I could see like
Yeah.
with some of the ceramic mugs, they cool off faster.
Yeah, and
I get that.
I get that. That would just make her mad.
Right.
Right. It has to be made right. Like if you get like a nice steel thermos for the coffee, it's really good. Right. But if you give like a little weak coffee cup that you know the coffee's just gonna cool down within 2 minutes, it's gonna frustrate her.
Right.
You know, because the coffee has to be hot for a certain long amount of time because like it has to be that right.
Well,
I guess there's an audience for that.
Well, the
and
thing
I don't want to disrespect that audience when it comes to coffee drinking at all, you know?
I don't think you're disrespecting them at all. You're definitely not doing that. And there's a point of you're not just thinking about the cup of coffee right now.
Yeah.
Because the cup of coffee that's in that tin thermos, it's going to be hot at 9:30 when you're sitting down at your desk for the first time and everything's right there. You're still getting a hot sip of coffee, so you're still getting that jolt and that burst. So I can totally understand that. Do I think it's a little intense? Totally, I think it's a little intense. But I think anything like that is a little intense. People who can only sleep in foam mattress beds and not spring coil mattress beds. That's a little intense for me. Life is a little, but I also understand that everyone has their own likes and their dislikes. And some people, I always go, is it worth the investment? And for them, it's worth the investment. For me, it's not.
Do you have any type of like pet peeves when it comes just to going on stage? Does something have to be there before you perform, or you just wing it when it just comes to the performance?
It depends on what I'm doing.
Right.
If I'm doing like the music and stuff like that, and like it's a Shane Penguin set, one of the main things we have to do is we got to get the set list from Kenny beforehand. That's how we know everything is ready. We're good to go. And it's hysterical because he gives me a set list, but I take my glasses off before I go on stage, so I can't see a dang thing. But here I have this set list that tells me the order of the songs. And it's so important to get that because that this is the feeling, okay, this is the time to flip that switch and you're about to go live. When I'm doing comedy and stuff like that, it's all winging it. I don't even know what the first joke's going to be until I'm up there, which is something that a couple of comedians are trying to work with me on because they see a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But because I am winging the majority of it, and I'm not writing as much as I should be writing, I'm not as funny, I guess, as they think I should be, which I think is a compliment and a half.
Yeah, it's constructive criticism.
Yeah, exactly. I love constructive criticism. I would much rather someone tell me I stunk than to show up on like America's Got Talent and get booed off stage. You know what I'm saying? Just being real. And this is where all the hate mail comes in. They're like, you stink on the radio. And I'm like, I don't care. I have a microphone.
As we wing it on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. For comedy, I agree with you. You have to be more prepared when it comes to this. You have to test your jokes out, see what works, see what doesn't work. Don't retell the same story in different ways if you know you're can't come up with the same outcome. And just when we talk to comedians that we had as guests on previous shows, like it's a science to it. You either know you have it or you don't have it, and you have to take that criticism when it comes to other comics.
Yep.
But you have to be mindful too, because you can be so good they may take some of your lines and take some of your stuff. I bet when you were on stage performing as a musician, a couple people probably took what they saw and what they loved from what you brought on to different audiences throughout Connecticut.
A good artist borrows, a great artist steals. That's just the reality of it. I'm stealing techniques that Ray Charles used. I'm stealing techniques and phrasing from Stevie Wonder. I'm stealing techniques and phrasing from Pearl Jam. I'm stealing, all the from Jim Morrison. I'm stealing them. I'm directly stealing them, and I give them all credit. These are the influences that have made my sound the way that my sound is. But I stole from them all, and they stole from what became before them, and so forth and so on and so on. That's the circle of life for music or for art itself. You know, yes, comedy is one of the only arts that seriously stealing is messed up. You need to write your own material. You know, I remember when everyone was really pushing down on Carlos Mencia because, you know, he was telling just Cosby jokes that Bill Cosby had written and not giving Bill Cosby any credit.
It wasn't just Cosby jokes. It was buying off a whole different variety of comedians.
Yep.
And for me, from just looking on from the outside, because like I'm not a comedian at all, it's a double-edged sword. I agree with you. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. If you take something of mine and make it better, good. But I get the other side too. I feel sometimes it may be stealing, but it's the way you do it. It's your approach. If you act like it's yours the whole entire time when you know someone else is running with that bit, let's just say there's another Shane Penguin band out there. And they use a different type of animal, but still use the same cadence and the same flow as yours. Like it may get to you just a little bit, you know? Like, okay, you're not using penguins, but you're using, I don't know,
shame chickens. Shame ducks.
And then, you know, they're buying your same style, but but you feel a little bit different because it's a parody of what you worked so hard for. So it's different. So I understand both sides. I really do.
Yeah, no, I can understand both sides too, and I can see both sides, you know, as well. And that's one of the things that I love about, for example, I don't love much about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think Anthony Kiedis is a horrible human being, and probably should be arrested for the things that he has done. But
we probably got to talk about that off air because I have never heard of anything he's done.
Oh, it's bad. But I will say this. When the Tom Petty estate came to them and said, you know, this song sounds way too much like Last Dance with Mary Jane, you know what the Chili Peppers did? They put Tom Petty as a writer for that song. You know what I'm saying? They gave credit where credit is due. I'm a big fan of giving credit where credit is due. And if any artist wants to ever come and say that, you know, this is a direct, you know, rip off from that, cool. I'm going to pay you. I'm going to make sure you get paid. I'm not getting paid a lot. You're not going to get paid a lot because I'm not that big of an artist. So you can sit back with your cease and desist there, buddy. But at the end of the day, you know, I definitely would give credit where credit is due. Every time, and whether that's being a musician, being a comedian, being a radio show host, you know, we're just doing what the people have done before us 1.5 million times. This isn't new. You know, we didn't invent this format of talking into microphones and having conversations, but we are just expanding on it. You know, and nowhere did we ever say that we invented this. We're just putting our personal spin on it. You know, Kevin Smith, who I quote all the time, once said, all original stories have already been told. All that's left is your opinion, your perspective. So tell it from your perspective, because the only original thing you have is your perspective.
It's true.
Yeah. You know.
You got me a little moment right now.
Nice.
Nice. You got me because there's so truth into that too. But I feel there's a lot of original ideas out there. It's just people really are, should I say, scared to go with more original ideas when it comes just creating and just writing and just expressing themselves, but they want to go more with the formula because, like what we talked about before with Bolito and us in our former podcast, that, you know, people want to attack to what's trending right now instead of just winging it and for the good cause and go for the fence when it comes to us going more original when it comes to concept ideas, you know?
Well, how many type of stories are there?
Hundreds.
Like 9.
9?
like 9.
What are the 9?
You got the romance, man versus self, man versus nature, man versus man. Then you have like the comedy aspect of it. So there's not that many stories that can actually be told because it's all a story that you've heard before. Man meets woman, woman meets man, they meets them, and live happily ever after, or go through chaos and get put together. They have the fish out of water story where you put somebody in a situation that they're never going to be in. Like, for example, say drop you and I off, and in Uganda, and we have to run this radio show from Uganda. That's a whole story because we're now fish out of water in Uganda. So there's not really that many original stories. There's original perspectives on those stories. Like, for example, our amazing friend Edwin Escobar doing the original, movie when dealing with Alzheimer's. That was absolutely incredible. But that was a perspective. That was his point of view on a topic that has been told before.
Okay. Makes sense. We gotta swing for the fences.
Yeah, I know. Word. And actually, anyone who wants to be a writer or anything like that, there are books that will tell you exactly what I'm saying. I'm not making this up. I'm not winging it. I'm not pulling it out of my ear. There's actual people who've been paid to correlate this data correctly. And again, that's something that we spoke about with Belito on one of our past shows. Mining over your data, seeing what your numbers have. This is so super important, and something that you don't have time to do when you're just winging it. Because when you're just winging it, you're going to go until you have to stop. You don't have that second to pick up a piece of paper and to look at and analyze. If you're winging it while you're analyzing data, you might as well go back and analyze that data over again because I guarantee you made a mistake.
Where do you feel your weaknesses are when it comes to winging it?
Honestly, it's expectation management. Like, here's the thing. I love doing improv. I can jump into an improv class tomorrow and I'll fit in just fine. And I'm funny-ish, funny looking, whatever. So, one of the first comedy things that I went to, I did all improv. Right. And I expected myself to win that. And I expected myself to win doing all improv, and I was going to prove a point. But the point wasn't proven because, going up against tested material, going up against a solid 5 minutes of hard writing, improv's going to lose every time.
Right.
It just is. You'll have that, you'll have that one person or two people that it might connect to, but that solid writing, it's going to connect every time. And that's one of the most important things. So really it's managing my expectations and, I should have done this so much better, but I didn't put in the extra work. I didn't do the hours of writing. I didn't do, all that kind of stuff. I just went up there and cold drew. And you're not knocking it out of the park every single time you do that. You might knock it out of the park once, but that's catching lightning in a bottle, and that doesn't happen often.
I feel the same way when it comes to doing what I'm doing right now. I feel I need to put the work in more and more myself, mostly.
Right.
More of my voice techniques, more of my interaction with others, more of my communication. Instead of just winging it and go with the flow, just like when we're talking to each other and seeing how interview process works, I feel I can engage more. I feel I can be more of a conductor more. Like say, for example, a guest talks so much and we can barely get like a word out with each other. We look at each other, we're trying to, get that alley-oop and like we just feel like we're playing double dutch when it comes just to getting into the conversation. Don't get me wrong, like the topics and we're happy about the enthusiasm that they bring to the table, but we got to try to find a way to get some moderation into it because like we're all just, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be just like a whole flow of things. Like I should get my thoughts and opinions out there. You should get your thoughts and opinions out there. The guests should, enjoy our questioning and like what we bring to the table and everything with the show. And then we're just like And I want to feel like it's like that anymore. I want to feel a way I can respectfully be a conductor, especially be a better person. I feel I shouldn't put time in the stuff that's really not my craft. And I think that's one thing I like about you. If it doesn't like match your energy or match your chemistry, you know, where you're going with life, you're not going to pursue it at all. Just without the years that I known you. You know, okay, this, even though this may pay well, even though this may satisfy me, even though, you know, well, I can't really say satisfy because that's not the direction I'm going with this. Even though this may turn out beneficially okay with me, I'm not going to be genuinely happy with this. So I'm not going to take this on.
Yeah.
And I think that's,
I've always,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I've always looked at, you know, I'm too old for that type of nonsense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've lived, and I've lived like that for a very long time.
Yeah.
Does it, you know, consistently put food on the table? No, but my hustle consistently puts food on the table. You know, it's just I just have to hustle a little bit harder. I've got to run a little bit more. I've got to push a little bit harder. I've got to shake a couple more hands while I'm bartending, or you know, doing forth and whatnot, or making sure we're connecting the right, crossing the T's and dotting the I's for all the paperwork that we put out for grants. You know, all of that kind of stuff is so super important. But that's, you know, I've come to the point where my happiness is a lot more important than my financial stability.
Of course.
I'll figure out where the money's going to come from. You know, and are there some times where, you know, the money's had to come from places that the money had to come from? Definitely. Okay, is there anything I can talk about? No, not at all. I'm done with self-incriminate. Come on now.
I feel a lot of people wing it when it comes to happiness. Think of the people they surround themselves with. Are you genuinely happy going to the bar or going to that restaurant or going to that event with the same type of people every day? Do you want to just switch up your circle so you could be a little bit happier? Because I feel everyone's temporary where when it comes, you know, to your direction in life, is this holding you back? Is this job holding you back that you've been there for so long because it pays the bills? And you know,
have you evolved?
Have you evolved? Have you grown within the job? And I'm not talking about a promotion. I'm talking about mentally. Have you grown inside? You know, are you just winging it just to make other people happy and not yourself happy? And that breaks you down, you know, because it's still men's mental health month. We need to talk about these kind of conversations. We need to bring this up, you know.
And this isn't a gender conversation either, because men, women, they, thems, however people identify, they, you know, they're always going to have those questions of, is this job fulfilling me still? You know, am I happy with what I'm doing? You know, or why? Why am I here? You know, like I joke around all the time. I don't have any X's. I just have a whole bunch of Y's. Why was I so silly to be with that person at that point in time? Why did I do that to myself? Why didn't I? Well, can't say that on air. You know, just certain things. So it's a whole bunch of different things that you have to look at there, and you know, happiness is definitely where we wing it the most, because, you know, I remember watching this incredible movie, and it starred Will Smith, and he was pretty much a homeless man that, you know, interned as a doing stock stuff, and then
Pursuit of Happiness.
So I didn't want to tell the name of the thing first. I didn't want to tell the name of the movie first, because the setup was going to be because you know, the Declaration of Independence does not give us happiness. It guarantees us the pursuit of happiness. You know, and that's us going forward to figure out what's going to make you happy. The number 42, which is everything and anything all put together. The semicolon. So super important, you know, for our own happiness. And yeah, I just dropped a whole bunch of like geek references right there. And there's a whole bunch of people at home are like playing geek bingo. They're like, oh, I got a bingo.
Is there still bingo night?
I'm sure it's somewhere.
I think I'm at that point now where a lot of stuff is non-existent now. Like
we'll put it out to the audience.
Nights. I never heard of like bingo nights at all.
Well,
like
we'll put it out to the audience. If you know
Yeah.
of any bingo nights that are in New Haven or around New Haven, let us know, and maybe we'll come through and do a show in your in your bingo night. You know, we'll interview the caller or something along those lines. I think that'd be perfect. Who would like to see Preston and myself at a bingo hall? And I'll make sure that I never yell. Oh, that
I
played
don't,
mixtape bingo.
because it
I
may
played
be.
mixtape bingo.
I never. I ain't trying to knock your idea. I love being
Right.
out there with you to different events. It's a fun experience, but I don't know. As I wing it for this bingo conversation on the channel.
Well, see,
But
we can play mixtape bingo, you know, at the cellar.
there you go. That's
So we
one.
can do that. That's a type of bingo.
That's a bingo.
So
They
so
still got
there's that. What was that? That's Tuesday nights?
I believe so. I'm not there Tuesdays.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to help the seller out here, bud. Trying to do some free promo.
Shout out to the seller. They're great people over there. As we wing on to the next topic, but I do agree. People do wing happiness. People do wing people pleasing to different other, individuals. I used to be like that. I used to be like that, and I didn't know it at the time. Like, we can do it, and we can see that we're chasing that. Like dating apps, for example. You get matched up with a whole bunch of different other people, a whole bunch of different other potential significant others. I think most people do it because they're bored.
Yep.
They get on the app, they're bored, they match, they don't match with, and that's why people get ghosted all the time, because it's not being directly disrespectful to you. I think it's an accidental disrespect, because like some people are really out there for love, and others are just, they're swiping to see if they get clicked or not, if they have a conversation with somebody, and then,
And then looking for that or uncarnal knowledge.
That's the best way to say that on PG radio. So
Exactly.
kudos to you.
I stole that from Van Halen. Again, great artist steal.
There you go. I mean,
yeah,
sure.
no, it's true. It's true. You know, but that's the thing is, happiness is a non-tangible. You can't hold happiness in your hands.
No, you
Maybe, you have moments of happiness. Like I remember holding my children for the first time. That was a moment of happiness. It's something that I constantly would play back to. Even like some of the accomplishments that they do. When I first found out that AJ was going to go to law camp, I was like, "There's a law camp? I didn't know that." And I'm just so blown away that he qualified to go there, and he was able to get in on a scholarship, which is dope because it doesn't cost me any money. But besides that, it works out really well. Or watching Milo go through what he's going through with the drums and moving and shaking and doing sound for the school play and trying to figure that out so he can do sound while he's in college and instead of working at Taco Bell. Smart play. It's smart. He's like, I don't want to smell like food. I was like, well, then you need to learn sound. He's like, I'm gonna learn sound. So.
And we ain't knocking people at Taco Bell. You gotta do what you gotta do.
No, you gotta do what you gotta do. He just doesn't want to smell like food. That's really what it comes down to. He's like, I don't want to do that. Like, that does not sound fun to me.
But I like what you said just about your kids, because that's chasing good dopamine. Right. I mean, we're always winging it when it comes to dopamine. Everybody's addicted to it. Let's say, for example, you're on Netflix trying to find that right show or that right movie to watch. And the problem is there's so many streaming services out there, you get lost. And you're trying to find that right show and that right program to, get out that boredom for a good 20, 30 minutes. And we always wing it when it just comes to those streaming services and to just what to watch.
Well, I mean, that's also a lot to do from our culture, because I mean, look at the Rolling Stones. They had the song, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. So you sit there and try to find the perfect thing that's going to give you all these perfect dopamine kickoffs and, the perfect aspect, when there really is nothing perfect in this world. Perfect is an illusion that we created to drive ourselves crazy. It's nothing. There's nothing that is perfect. Something is flawed somewhere. You can find the most beautiful human being in the entire history of human beings, and their nose is going to be off by a little bit, or their eyes are going to be a little bit too close together, or one ear is going to be bigger than the other, because there's no such thing as perfection.
No,
there's just not. It's an ideal, and that's
I do know
that
on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, my bearded brother, EZ BlueZ. Continue, sir.
Well, no, that's one of the things that we get completely wrapped up in chasing that happiness. Is we're chasing the ideal of perfection.
Correct.
What's going to give me the perfect amount of happiness? I could tell you, but I'm on air, so that's not going to happen. But there are those moments. We get it. We need to focus more on being in those moments, sitting and scrolling on your phone for the entire time. And hey, man, I scroll. I've got scrolling thumb, bro. I got you. I'm not knocking anyone who scrolls. I am someone who scrolls like crazy. I've actually almost kicked my TikTok addiction. It took me getting kicked off of TikTok for me to truly reevaluate my TikTok addiction.
I say for people who are addicted to scrolling and social media and anything electronic, we can just talk about locally. We can just talk about right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely go outside. There's a lot of stuff to do. You can exercise.
It's so dang hot,
you can
bro.
walk.
Bro, it's hot, man. Come on, it's hot. I can sit on my couch in the air conditioning, and I can watch Netflix.
I mean, you can get active. You can run. You can ride your bike.
It's hot.
I'm
fluffy. I know.
No,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's 100% right. Going outside, and that's another way to chase different type of dopamine.
I understand it's hot, but you can get up in the morning where it's a little bit cooler.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can wait till the evening where it's a little bit cooler, where you can walk around and be a little free. I understand a little in between during the day, maybe around 9:30 to 4. It's like a furnace when you walk out there. But if you have nothing to do, just plan your day out accordingly and don't wing it.
Well placed.
You could be okay. Reading.
It's fundamental.
You can read inside.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to wing it and kill an addiction, reading. You can do that. There's other ways to work stuff around.
I'm a huge fan of the reading aspect of it. I've actually switched over to like books on tape, but I'll leave my phone in another room, and because I have the wired headphones, I can listen to the book on tape in another room completely, and I'll just sit there and do that. That's some of the stuff that I'll start to do. I've started to do at the end of the night, so that give my eyes a little bit of a rest. So like an hour or 30 minutes before I'm ready to lay down and hook on my Swedish death breathing machine. I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this book. Like right now, I'm actually listening to Thank You, the Sly Stone book.
That's cool.
So good. Oh my gosh, so good.
Shoot, make music.
Yeah,
you can make some great music. There's probably some times where you put the phone down, you turn the TV off, you get out your guitar, you just let your feelings out. That's good mental therapy right there.
Yep.
The DIY stuff you always post out on social media that you do, making your own clothing, making different products. Shoot, you used to do, I'm talking about you, some cooking stuff, and you used to post it online.
Yes.
I forgot the dishes you made, but I know you made some great cooking items. And
anytime I try to push myself when I'm cooking, especially like when I cook for the boys, I'm like, boom, this is it. Boom, this looks pretty. This is the way that it goes. And I don't do it for any other reason than I want to go back and look at it later. Like that's I post for me 97% of the time.
Yeah.
If it's something that I might like, or the best part is like when I'm scrolling through my feed, like on Facebook, sometimes I'll show up in my feed. And I'm like, oh, I should totally share this. And you're like, oh, it's myself. Or like I go to hit like, and I'm like, oh man, that's my post. So I try to stay away from it. Because you don't want to be that person that likes your own post. Who would do that?
True. Bonding more with family.
Mm-hmm.
Taking
distance from family as well, though.
Taking
Bonding
distance
is very
too.
super important, but taking some of that you time.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, you live in a household with your family. Don't just be in your room the entire time. Interact with different family members.
Right.
Engage in that conversation.
Yeah.
Don't just be that person on the phone all the time. Interact with the people in your house, which you do most of the time.
Right.
And
then they'll say something silly, and I'm like, I don't ever want to interact with people ever again.
And then you can say something silly back like you always do. You're not just gonna take that silliness. You're easy blues. You're not just gonna just take someone saying silly to you and not say something back. You're not just gonna do that. You're not just gonna just take that. No, that's not you. That'll never be you.
See, me and the boys have a new show that we watch now.
Yeah.
It's a game show on Fox. It's the new game show. Have you heard of it?
I have not heard of this game show.
It's a quiz with balls.
Oh Lord.
That's the name of the show.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like a trivia show that these balls will push you in the water if you get you get the answer wrong. It's the dumbest show in ever, but we all watch it because we just want to watch, and it's fun to say. What are you guys doing right now? We're watching the quiz with balls. Or one of the other real good traditions that we have is every Father's Day we watch Major Payne.
There you go.
That's super, super important because that's the best male role model you're ever going to find in TV or movies.
What made that the Father's Day movie?
Because that's the best male role model you'll find. Because that's not someone who became a father. That's someone who was a father. He didn't become a father. He was a father, and he now is having to take his fatherly skills and bring it down to children level.
Well, as we were winging this whole entire show, please give some ending and great inspiring words the best you can, Easy Blues.
No matter what, when you're out there, if you have to win, just go all in and really take that aspect of it. As much as you can plan, because we used to do it all the time when we would put together shows or benefits and all that. We have everything planned out perfectly because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? Yeah. We would have everything down perfectly because we knew the minute we were going to go live, everything was going to go to pot, and it wasn't going to go well. And because we had a good schedule, we were able to maintain, that type of chaos that goes through, that controlled chaos. But a lot of that is, that it's showtime and you're going to be winging it from point A to point B because you have to be ready for this act is, a half hour out and they're supposed to be on in 10 minutes. Or, there's traffic right now. Or, we didn't realize that Bruno Mars was playing down the street. That one was a rough one. So no matter what, stay pliable and definitely wing it, but try to find that balance between structure and winging it. And when you find that balance, I think you might find that happiness you're looking for.
I couldn't say it better myself as we wing it on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Preston, and Mr. EZ Blues. Thank you so much, man.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.
I don't know.